The headlines hit harder than a playoff buzzer. Chauncey Billups, a finals MVP turned respected coach, and Terry Rozier, one of Miami's most electric guards, were arrested in connection with a federal gambling probe. Cameras caught the flashing lights, but what really burned was the betrayal underneath. It wasn't a fan rumor or a locker room whisper this time. It was the FBI, badges out, paperwork ready. For decades, basketball's biggest scandals stayed on the court. Fights, trades, egos. But this one jumped the baseline straight into the justice system. The story wasn't just about money. It was about the erosion of trust. Coaches are supposed to build culture, not bankroll it. Players are supposed to play, not calculate spreads. Overnight, what looked like a clean season turned into a federal case file. And in a sport where image sells as much as talent, the fallout wasn't just legal, it was existential. Every network scrambled for statements. Every brand scrubbed its marketing schedules. The NBA, once untouchable in its sleek professionalism, suddenly looked fragile. Because when the game's integrity breaks, everything, the sneakers, the sponsorships, the symbols, loses weight. This week, it wasn't just a scandal. It was a stress test for an entire culture built on image, trust, and billions in motion. The game didn't just crack. It exposed the fracture line running beneath modern sports itself. It started like a rumor no one wanted to believe. The kind that spreads quietly, in text threads between players and coaches, until someone in a suit confirms it on live TV. Then it hit. Chauncey Billups arrested. Terry Rozier arrested. Not speculation, not social media noise. Federal charges tied to illegal gambling operations and insider betting leaks. Agents moved fast. The FBI didn't stage manage this like a scandal. They treated it like a crime scene. Early morning raids, seized electronics, and warrants served in both Portland and Miami. The photos showed Billups in a gray hoodie, head down, walking out with federal escorts. Rozier's attorney tried to keep him composed, but every flash of a camera made it worse. Court documents pointed to months of surveillance. Leaked texts, encrypted chats, wire transfers disguised as training bonuses. The details read more like a script than a stat sheet. Reports claim Billups wasn't betting on his own games, but he allegedly knew outcomes used by high rollers to rig private poker sessions. Rozier, meanwhile, allegedly acted as the link, feeding info from team circles to the underground network. For the public, it was disbelief. Billups was a finals MVP, the blueprint of professionalism. Rozier, the comeback story, the Heat's heartbeat. To see them handcuffed wasn't just shocking, it was disorienting. Fans felt played. Commentators tried to stay calm, but you could hear it in their tone. The trust had snapped. Within hours, both were suspended indefinitely. The league office called it a crisis of credibility. Teams deleted posts. Endorsements froze. In one day, reputations built over decades fell like trading cards in a storm. And the worst part, the FBI hinted that more names could follow. What looked like an isolated bust might be the start of a much wider sweep. Because when a scandal starts with icons, it rarely stops at two. What came next felt less like a scandal and more like a movie script. Except the players were real, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The poker ring wasn't some smoky backroom cliché. It was a luxury circuit. Velvet tables, designer suits, champagne, and silent deals. The FBI called it Operation All In, a sprawling investigation into a network of mob-linked poker events designed to funnel high-profile athletes and investors into controlled games. According to the federal brief, the setup was surgical. Private penthouses in Manhattan, offshore accounts in Cyprus, and a rotating cast of celebrities who thought they were playing for fun, not being played for profit. Chauncey Billups, prosecutors allege, was used as bait. His name, his presence, his quiet confidence. All of it made wealthy newcomers believe the tables were safe. They weren't. The cards were chipped, the decks digitally marked, the game statistically unwinnable. Forensic teams traced custom decks fitted with microtags, small enough to hide in the card texture, detectable by hidden devices synced to smartwatches under sleeves. It wasn't gambling. It was performance art with a guaranteed ending. What made it explosive wasn't just the technology, it was the lifestyle orbiting it. Billups was photographed stepping out of the same black rolls used for multiple poker events. Players wore Richard Mille watches worth more than their season bonuses. The ring blurred the line between athlete and influencer, between elite and exploited. Rozier's alleged role, reports claim, was smaller but crucial, a connector. He supposedly introduced friends from the league to exclusive tables. Whether he knew the full scope or not remains under investigation. But what's clear is that his name appeared repeatedly in encrypted group chats coordinating travel and payouts. Behind the glamour, the operation was pure organized crime. Mob families laundering money through games so high-end that no one dared question them. One investigator told Reuters, they weaponized celebrity. They made fame the front door to fraud. And that's what turned the story nuclear. It wasn't about bad luck or greed. It was about how easily the image of luxury became the perfect disguise for manipulation. The league tried to hold the line, but the damage was already leaking through every headline, every press conference, every player tweet. Within 24 hours, Commissioner Adam Silver stepped in front of the cameras. No teleprompter, no PR spin, just the weight of disbelief. He called the situation deeply disturbing and promised full cooperation with federal authorities. But the tone said it all. This wasn't just an investigation. It was an existential crisis for a league that had sold integrity as part of its brand. Sponsors started calling before the briefing even ended. Major apparel deals paused pending ethics review. Internal memos leaked showing teams tightening rules around player appearances at casinos and high-stakes charity events. Overnight, the league's glossy image, all tailored suits, tunnel fits, and brand diplomacy, turned brittle. The same visual polish that made the NBA a cultural juggernaut now felt like overcompensation. Politicians saw blood in the water. A congressional committee demanded Adam Silver testify on how the NBA's own betting partnerships may have blurred ethical lines. The irony wasn't lost. Just a few years ago, the league championed betting sponsorships as fan engagement. Now those same deals were being cited as the rot beneath the system. Inside the league office, panic turned into management. Compliance departments went into overdrive. Agents fielded calls from anxious clients wanting to scrub private messages, delete burner accounts, and distance themselves from anyone even remotely connected to the case. Players started turning down public appearances, unsure how every photo or interaction might be reinterpreted. Meanwhile, Fashion Week appearances and brand crossovers suddenly looked tone-deaf. The players who built their identities on luxury and confidence were now symbols of excess at a time when the sport's credibility was in question. Even the iconic pre-game tunnel, once a catwalk for status and self-expression, became a quiet march of damage control. And through it all, the fans watched in real time as the game's machinery creaked. Every highlight reel, every post-game quote, every locker room laugh now carried an unspoken question. Who can you trust when the system that sells fair play might be compromised from the top down? The backlash didn't come quietly. It came loud, emotional, and public. The NBA's celebrity ecosystem turned into an open-air debate overnight. Retired legends, brand ambassadors, and even pop culture figures with courtside credibility weighed in. Shaquille O'Neal called the situation a betrayal of the game's DNA. Charles Barkley said it felt like a moral bankruptcy more than a financial one. Everyone had a take, and every take was fuel. But the loudest reaction came from within the locker rooms. Damian Lillard went viral after blasting Kevin Love for mocking the arrests in an Instagram story, calling it weak ****SHT, before Love deleted the post and issued an apology. It wasn't just trash talk anymore. It was about loyalty, perception, and who still respected the code. That one exchange alone racked up millions of views and split fan bases across social media. The fallout hit lifestyle brands next. Companies that had built entire campaigns around the athlete as icon narrative suddenly froze collaborations. A sneaker line tied to Rozier was quietly pulled from pre-order. A watch brand that once featured Billups as the face of discipline and precision suspended its rollout. Even stylists and tattoo artists got dragged into the discourse. Fans analyzing old designs, debating whether the luxury symbols inked on these players had become proof of excess instead of achievement. Then came the emotional wave, old teammates posting cryptic tweets about staying real, current stars turning off comments, publicists issuing statements that read more like damage assessments than defenses. In an age when image is currency, the arrest of two high-profile names didn't just tarnish reputations, it devalued entire personal brands. The celebrity world that once celebrated athlete extravagance suddenly went quiet. Not out of respect, but out of fear of guilt by association. The lifestyle that sold sneakers, endorsements, and documentaries now carried the scent of scandal. Every diamond chain, every courtside selfie, every brand-tagged outfit became a reminder. When image and integrity clash, even fame isn't safe. The ripple effect didn't stop at the NBA. It tore through every corner of sports culture like a shockwave. In locker rooms across the NFL, MLB, and even esports organizations, compliance officers suddenly had new talking points. Gambling seminars that once felt optional were now mandatory. Leagues scrambled to reassure fans and sponsors that this was isolated. But the timing couldn't have been worse. The public wasn't buying clean narratives anymore. Sports talk shows turned the scandal into a referendum on athlete culture itself. Was this the inevitable result of a generation raised on fast money and online validation? Or was it a symptom of leagues cozying up to betting companies, blurring the line between entertainment and exploitation? Analysts didn't hold back. One even said, "You can't build a billion-dollar gambling market around your sport and then act shocked when someone cashes in on the gray areas." Social media fanned the flames. Fan accounts posted side-by-side comparisons. Billups in a poker lounge next to old footage of players talking about loyalty to the game. Reddit threads lit up with theories, memes, and genuine concern about how deep the betting culture had already sunk into sports. Some fans called for lifetime bans. Others said the system itself invited corruption. The discourse wasn't just outrage, it was fatigue. And then there was the human side. Young players, high schoolers and college prospects, started posting videos saying the scandal made them rethink everything. Coaches used it as a warning. "This is what happens when fame moves faster than discipline," one said in a viral clip. Parents of rising athletes started asking tougher questions about who manages their kids' money, who they hang out with, and what circles they enter once the spotlight hits. The entire sports lifestyle machine, luxury, image, influence, suddenly looked like a loaded weapon. What used to be aspirational now looked dangerous. The chain reactions were visible everywhere. Cancelled brand events, dropped collaborations, agents on cleanup duty, PR teams rewording sponsorship contracts overnight. What began as 2 arrests had turned into a cultural audit. The scandal wasn't just about what Billups and Rozier did. It was about what modern sports had become. The scandal didn't slow the spectacle. It supercharged it. Within days, YouTube thumbnails, TikTok breakdowns, and podcast debates had turned the arrests into serialized entertainment. The very thing that was supposed to shame the sports world had become fuel for its content economy. Everyone, from betting analysts to sneaker reviewers, found a way to spin it. Views skyrocketed. Hashtags like #SportsIntegrityCrisis trended for 3 straight days. The story hit the intersection of outrage and obsession, the sweet spot of modern media. What used to be handled in courtrooms now unfolded in comment sections. Clips of Chauncey Billups walking out of the courthouse ran next to ads for luxury watches. Reactions to Rozier's statement got stitched with videos of fans flaunting their betting slips. The collapse of credibility had turned into the best-performing content of the week. That's the twisted genius of the spectacle economy. The more chaotic the narrative, the more profitable the engagement. Every platform feeds on controversy. Every creator competes to frame it faster, slicker, sharper. Even crossover names like Jake Paul chimed in, half critique, half performance, using the scandal as a mirror for how fame and finance bleed together in every corner of modern sport. Training camps leaned into accountability content. Players posted hyper-produced apology videos with cinematic lighting and carefully worded captions. Brands rebranded their damage control as transparency campaigns. Everything became marketable, even remorse. And while the league scrambled to restore order, the ecosystem around it thrived. The gossip channels gained subscribers. Sports podcasts doubled ad rates. Fashion blogs dissected courtroom fits like red carpet looks. Scandal had become spectacle, and spectacle had become currency. Because in 2025, reputation isn't protected, it's monetized. The machine doesn't care whether the story cleanses or corrupts. It only cares that it trends. And as long as the audience keeps watching, the line between sports, scandal, and show business will keep fading, one viral headline at a time. In the end, the numbers, the fines, and the suspensions will fade, but the scar stays. The Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier scandal wasn't just another headline. It was a mirror held up to an entire industry built on image, trust, and illusion. For years, fans believed in the purity of competition, the idea that performance alone decided who won. That illusion cracked this week. What was exposed wasn't just 2 men's mistakes, but the architecture that enabled them. A sports culture addicted to spectacle, a media system that rewards chaos, and a fan base that can't look away. The game didn't end. It just evolved into something stranger. Every dunk, every tunnel walk, every luxury flex now carries a shadow. Leagues will talk reform. Sponsors will pivot to safer faces. But deep down, everyone knows what this moment proved. Integrity isn't a brand, it's a currency. And once it's spent, it's almost impossible to earn back. So as the season limps forward, the question isn't whether the NBA can recover. It's whether the audience still cares about recovery. Because scandal sells faster than redemption, and in the spectacle economy, truth has never been the main event. This week, the game didn't just change, it cracked. And maybe, just maybe, we're all a little complicit in watching it break. So what's next? Probably more of the same, but sharper, faster, harder to look away from. The spectacle won't stop. It can't. It's too profitable. But now everyone watching knows the truth. Every clean jersey has a stain, every perfect image a hidden edit. The game didn't just change, it cracked. And once you've seen the fracture lines, you can't unsee them. And that's the truth they didn't want out. The deeper you dig, the uglier it gets, and the louder the silence from inside the league. If you're ready for more unfiltered stories the headlines won't touch, hit that subscribe button right now. Smash the like, drop your take in the comments, and share this video before it disappears. This is Control Plus Style, where the game's Real story lives.